Welcome to Grip Grind Glory, where grapplers train with purpose and grow through the grind. And now, your host thought-provoker and fellow grinder, Anna Janovics.
Well, hello my dear friends, and welcome back to Grip Grind Glory. This is episode 12. Today we're taking a word that gets thrown around constantly in judo or in any sport for that matter, and flipping it over like a bad grip or something. And the word is elite. It's used everywhere. Elite athletes, elite competitors, elite development programs, and we're told to strive for it, admire it, bow down to it. But here's the truth that no one's saying out loud. The word elite is doing more harm than good. And today we're going to break it down into pieces. Why it's so misleading, and it's a very loaded word. Worst of all, it's making everyday athletes shrink themselves, disqualify their own effort, and disconnect from their own identity, obviously. So in this episode, we're unpacking what elite really means and doesn't mean, why the word has become a cage for so many, and what we should be aiming for instead, because not elite doesn't mean not serious. And if that's what you've been told, we're burning that script today. So what does elite even mean? By definition, elite means a select group that is superior in terms of ability or qualities. It sounds very fancy, very prestigious, and yes, because of all that, it's very exclusive. That's the whole point. In sport, there is no exclusivity. So why did anyone think that it's okay to use a word like this? It's usually used to describe full-time athletes who are just that, full-time athletes. Professionals, funded, sponsored, or whatever. Those who train and compete at the highest level of the game. And I don't have any problem with that description, obviously. What I have a problem with is the implication. Because somewhere along the way, elite stopped being about logistics and started becoming about worth. It went from they're full-time to they're better than you, or if that's not what they're implying, that's what the usage of this word means. And that's where things start to get a little bit messy, because the biggest issue with the word elite is that it draws a line. It creates a divide, a sharp, silent line between them, the elite, and you, the rest. It also said that they're athletes and you're just a hobbyist, and that they're elite and you're not quite there, and that their training really counts for, in the sport, for the industry, but yours is just something else. And that's where the harm is done, I believe. It's obviously not in your skill or in your mindset, but in your perception of your own legitimacy. But the truth is that they're not better. They just have a different job, and a job they're better at, probably. They've chosen a path, full-time training, right? Competing, which is absolutely valid, but it's not more valuable, not more valid than yours as, an accountant or whatever. And the more we act like that, it is, the more we risk cutting out 90% of the people who love this sport and carry it forward every day. 90, it should be 99, to be honest. Because the reality is the soul of judo or any other sport lives in the regulars, the late starters, the ones, juggling work and training, school, the ones who show up after a long shift, after a long day in school, the ones who come back after kids, after an injury, after, doubt. And you don't need a full-time schedule to have full-time, soul in the sport. And no title can take that away from you. Let's also talk a little bit about the myth of superiority, because that's what this word implies. Being a professional doesn't automatically make you a better athlete, full stop, or a better role model, or a better, human even. Some of the most toxic, fragile, or, emotionally underdeveloped people I've met in sport were so-called elite. They're not superior to you or me or anyone really. And some of the most grounded, generous, technically beautiful judoka I know, they've never stood on a podium or, represented their country in an international event. They're raising kids, working jobs, still showing up with more heart than half the funded roster. So let's separate the title from the person for a minute. Pro or full-time is a job description, not a character trait. And so elite, when you say elite, it does become a character trait. And it's definitely not a personality. And so we shouldn't use the word elite, respectively. What we could say instead, if we want to describe someone's level, we've got other options, which I've just mentioned. Professional athlete, pro athletes, that tells the truth without ego. That's their profession. That's what they do day in and day out. Or full-time competitor, very accurate, doesn't carry any moral weight. That's what they do full-time, yeah? And believe it or not, words shape culture. And right now, the word elite is shaping a culture of hierarchy, invisibility, shame, exclusiveness, big time. So let's stop using it like it's the final form, because it isn't. At Grip Grind Glory, we don't use this terminology, obviously, and we don't idolize full-time athletes either, because we elevate commitment, we recognize consistency over final results, as in results defined by, federations. We honor the everyday athlete, because the thing is, you can be very powerful without being a pro, or you can have purpose without a sponsor even. And and that's the most beautiful thing, that you can be fully into it without a coach watching your every move or telling you what to do. And you're probably more adaptable, more emotionally regulated, or let's say self-led than half the pros out there. And that's what matters at Grip Grind Glory. We're here to bring judo's meaning back to center stage. We're gonna eliminate all this kind of terminology that just doesn't suit this sport anymore. We're not building a stage for pros, obviously. We're building a movement for the rest of us, for that 99%. The underdogs, the returners, the 35-plus warriors, whoever. The ones who are here to build strength on their own terms and not chasing anyone else's ladder. And so the next time you hear someone say, yeah, you do train but not seriously, right? Or you're too old to do anything with it, right? Just pause and ask yourself, who gets to decide what counts? Right? You are allowed to take your training seriously, to love your craft, to commit deeply even if no one is watching. That's the whole point of it. Even if your name isn't on a poster, because real strength doesn't come from the status you're given. It comes from the story you live in your own heart. Have you ever been made to feel not enough because you weren't a pro, or struggled with comparison, pressure, and invisibility in sport? Tell me about it. DM me with your story, tag me, email me, call me. Just let me know you're there, and let's just name it, talk about it, and let's reclaim it. Because you didn't come this far to sit on the sideline, did you? You came to belong on the mat, and you do. You belong here, you grow here, remember. That's our tagline. Fully and fiercely. Pro or not, rather not. All right, my friends. There is just a disclaimer. There is absolutely nothing wrong with professional athletes or sport, the professional, level sport. That's beautiful. The word, the elite word use is just that makes me really cross. All right, my friends. I shall now finish up this favorite episode of mine. I love talking about this topic. I don't know if you figured. I'll be back next week, but until then, let's grip, grind, and glory. Bye!